This podcast was originally live-streamed on the Non Sequitur Show on YouTube. New episodes air weekdays, Monday through Friday, at 8 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/non-sequitur-show. Make sure you never miss a live stream by visiting www.nonsexshow.com/schedule. For the latest news, polls and updates throughout the day, follow us on Twitter @nonsexshow or facebook.com/nonsexshow. That's NONSEQ show. If you'd like to get exclusive content, bi-weekly private hangouts with Kyle and Steve, backstage access to chat with guests after shows hosted on your channel, and much more, become a Patreon saint of Non Sequitur. It ensures we continue to improve our show and brings you into the process at the same time. Visit patreon.com/non-sequitur today while the limited spots are still available.
The following podcast is intended for those who believe bold ideas are righteous, unique perspectives are gospel, and strong opinions are sacred. This is Non Sequitur. Never follow. And now, here are your hosts, Kyle Curtis and Steve McRae.
Welcome, everybody, to Non Sequitur. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We are starting on time for once. We have both parties in the call, so we are good to go. Thank you very much, Aron and Jeranism, both for joining us. Welcome, guys.
Hey, what's going on?
I think we're going to have an interesting discussion. And if anybody watched last night, I hope that you have recovered, and we are very sorry for that. But
that was a grueling ordeal. Not going to front, a grueling ordeal for 3 hours, but well worth it for Reg Rhetoric's fundraiser.
Yeah, we wish him well, and the other guys too. But thank you for joining us and for your support. We appreciate it. We're on the cusp of 5K, so that's really exciting, and that is all due to your support, and we couldn't do it without you. So first of all, we wanted to thank you for that. I'm going to turn it over to Steve to introduce the topic, and then let the guys introduce themselves.
These guys actually need no introduction. I mean, we've had them on a few times. Aron's been on a couple times. Jaron has been on a couple times. However, if you don't know who they are, we're going to allow them to briefly give a brief description about themselves and what their take is on the whole battlefield flat Earth controversy, which I use the term loosely. But Jeranism, welcome back, first of all. And if you want to kind of explain to the audience who you are and your position on this, and then we'll just go to Aron and then take it from there.
All right. Well, thank you for having me again. Hello, Aron. So I'm Jaron. My channel is Jeranism. Everybody knows that. Hated by many, despised by more. I think that I'm due a Nobel Prize, though, soon, because I'm the one person who is bringing science and religion together in their hate for me. So, and what I say, because my beliefs are my own. I believe what I do based on my own research. I used to believe in religion that I was raised under, and then I was able, despite that difficulty, to break from religion, and I became an atheist and a believer and backer of science. And so I wanted to be someone that was going to help other people find their way out of religious belief. But as I researched and studied more of the science, I started seeing signs that science followers were following a religion. And as the year or two after that, continuous research revealed that men are liars, and to trust them is futile. It's the worst thing you can do. And I know Eddie Bravo the other night said something that I think describes my position to a T. He said he would rather be considered and called an idiot and a moron for not trusting liars than to be a traitor for defending them. And that's absolutely my position. And so as far as the flat Earth debate goes, clearly I have an issue with the heliocentric model. I do think it is a gigantic lie that has been told for I don't know how many years, maybe 500, 400, and that people have fallen for it due to indoctrination, due to education. And so, I'm trying to get that out there, and I just wish that people could all get along and see that other people do have different opinions. And so it's okay to look into things without just calling others names. And that's basically most of the defending I get of the heliocentric model is just to be called a moron and I'm idiotic. And that's fine. That just doesn't do much for their position, as it just is kind of more fuel to the fire. But that's basically me.
All right, awesome. Okay, Aron, how about you want to give 1 or 2 minutes to tell people about yourself and your position on this?
Okay, well, I don't need that much time, I don't think, but my name is Aron Ra. I'm Southwest Regional Director of American Atheists, Director of the Phylogeny Explorer Project, author of Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism, producer of Living Science Lessons Biology videos. And if you like what I do, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/ARONRA. I've done a lot of travel, and so if it were ever possible for me to have believed in a flat Earth, it would not be possible now. Not now that I've been to so much of it. And so we're going to be talking to Jeranism about how he came to this conclusion and how he managed to overlook everything I've seen so far.
Okay, short and to the point. So, Jeranism, why don't you start us off? I think that if maybe you want to provide Aron with some of your leading arguments for your position that you believe that the Earth is flat, and then maybe he can kind of address them point by point.
Sure. Well, I guess I would start off with a quote by George Ellis, who's I'm sure you know who he is, mainstream physicist, probably top 10 in the world. I don't know, somewhere around there. And
never heard of him.
Never heard of George Ellis?
Okay, go ahead.
He said that he's talking about he can construct a spherically symmetrical universe with the Earth at its center, and that through observations it would be impossible to disprove that. And he says what he wants to get out in the open is the fact that a lot of cosmology tries to hide that they're using philosophical ideas to create their models. And he said that's fine by him, but he just feels like he needs to get out that a lot of cosmology tries to hide that. So when you hear that as a backer of science, that a science, cosmology, is trying to hide something from people, shouldn't that be an eye-opening quote to why would there be a scientific enterprise like cosmology that is a lot? He said a lot of cosmology tries to hide the fact that their models are based on philosophical criteria. That to me was a big eye opener.
Yeah, the two ways that I would address that is one, it's bullshit, and two, he's lying. I mean, it's easy to disprove a model like that is inconsistent with every other model, with everything else we see. Obviously is going to be a problem. Now, I've understood, and I've seen this documented by people who are pro-science, that if you can defend almost any one of the arguments for a flat Earth, as long as you isolate it to that one argument and don't observe anything else. But once you begin to observe other things, well, then everything comes apart. I mean, for example, I'm interested in what model you have. What is it that you're embracing so that we can examine what's wrong with it?
Well, I think that to put everything onto me as to what the flat Earth is, how it works, how it all operates, when obviously I haven't had nearly the amount of study.
Have you had enough to convince you that the Earth is flat?
I'd had enough.
And you said your beliefs are your own, are they not?
They are. I was going to answer.
And you've had a reason enough for you to believe. So tell me what the reason is that you believe in, what the model is that you believe in. And
I believe that the globe is a complete and total lie, that it does not match observations, that it's completely against every sense that we have. To believe that you can see 25 trillion miles is an insane belief. To think that you're spinning on a ball at a certain speed, flying through space at 66,000 miles per hour around a sun that's 1.3 million times as big as the Earth, that is an insane belief.
So the entire argument is that all of the available data is incredulous, and that's it. You don't have a model?
Sure, I have an idea of what I think the Earth is shaped. I think it's a plane. It's a plane of existence. It's got peaks and valleys, ocean floors, and tall mountains.
So is it an eternal plane?
No, I wouldn't say so. No, I'd say that it ends at a certain point.
So do you have a reason to believe that it is either a finite or eternal plane?
Because water shows me that it doesn't curve. You know, granted, I understand the global mindset that water's pulled to the center, but there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of things attracting things to the center of anything. There's no evidence. There's
no evidence that water would be level in a finite measurement?
On a globe?
On anything. Flat Earth, round Earth, the water would be level, right?
Water's level, correct.
Okay. And even on a globe, if we're only going to measure 6 to 8 inches of it, then water's going to be level, right?
Correct.
Okay. And it doesn't matter if you're in an airplane or on a mountain or on any part of the globe, it would still be level that few inches, right?
Sure. Yeah, I guess
Okay.
it would be.
So when you're
talking
standing in a
about-
position, wherein, and I know you've got to have heard this before, and I'm stunned at how you don't have a counter argument for these, or you don't have a model to establish the counter argument for these.
For what?
When you're standing on a shore and you watch the masts of a ship disappear last, or when you're on a ship and you're approaching the shore and you watch the top of the lighthouse first before you see the base of it, or when you're in a car. And when you're driving along and you see the top of the mountain first, and the mountain rises as you get closer in the globe, and you can see more of the mountain as it rises before. You can see the globe of the Earth just on a road trip. You don't even have to be in an airplane. So how is it that you not see this? How do you account for these?
I would ask the same question back. How have you not seen the evidence that boats do not go over the curve? That there's
because
clearly...
I have seen the evidence of the boats going over the curve. So I can't see the evidence of the not evidence that I have seen.
So which videos have you seen that show a boat going over the curve?
Not just videos, my own eyes. I was recently on a road trip, across Iceland, and I was noticing, because I was going to talk to a flat earther soon, so I just made note in my mind that I've seen this mountain before. As I approach it, I'm an hour away from it or so, and I just watch the tip of it, and we point out, look how much of the mountain we know of is there that we still can't see because it's still under the curve of the Earth. And as we drive toward it, we see more and more of it. And same thing when I lived in Washington State. Mount Rainier is an enormous volcano, and you can only see the tip of it from Washington, or excuse me, from Seattle. But as you can get closer to the border with Oregon, you see the whole mountain. And it's amazing that you can drive towards something for so long and just see a little bit more and more of it, but it's always on your horizon, it seems, because it's so enormous.
Do things get smaller with distance?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so something is smaller in the distance than it is when you're close to it.
Except when you can't see the base of it, and you know the base is there, and you've already seen the base because you were there yesterday, and you have to wait then for the curve of the Earth to reveal that base.
Yeah, I totally disagree. I don't think that's what you're
seeing.
Okay, so
you disagree because you disagree, but you have to have a model that explains the observation. That is the observation. That is the evidence that the Earth is a globe. So how do you counter that evidence?
Okay, so I told you if you go look at other evidence, I guess you're looking at the wrong videos to see that clearly.
I'm not talking about videos. I'm talking about my own eyes.
And my own eyes have gone to the beach, and I've looked out at boats that are going out into the distance. And if you zoom into them with your camera, after they've disappeared from your eye, you can bring those back up into view. Okay, well, I'm telling you, I've seen it. So
and I'm telling you haven't.
Okay, well then.
You can't do that, therefore you haven't done it.
I have done it.
Well, you haven't done it.
Okay.
Because you can't do it.
Well, and this
but
is
if you
why
have
I challenge...
done it and you could do it, then you'd be able to give a demonstration of that. But what we have in fact seen is the very thing that I've just described to you. When you watch the masts of the ship disappear, you see the ship disappear before the masts do. This is a common observation that's seen for hundreds of years, and I've seen it myself.
Right.
And
so
you see the lighthouse, the top of the lighthouse first, and then you see the base of it, just like the mountain I told you. You see the top of the mountain first, then you see the base of it as you get closer. These are the common observations.
Okay, so
how does your model account for those?
Okay, so atmosphere causes distortion in anything, right? So if you've got a variable atmosphere above the water, then that's going to cause distortion in whatever you're looking at. So if you're at the beach and you're looking out at the water, the most amount of this distortion will be right at the level of the water.
Even when you're not on the water, when you're driving across Iceland and there's no snow on the ground,
the higher
and you
you
still
get,
can't see the base of the mountain because of the curvature of the Earth. Or when you're crossing Washington State in the springtime, and again, there's no snow on the ground, so there's no distortion, and you know what the base of the mountain looks like, yet you can't see it because it's still below the curve of the Earth.
Yeah, so anything in the distance is going to be lower than where you're observing it because you're looking through the most amount of atmosphere. No, well, that's your opinion, but do you think
so you're saying that the appearance of a curve is because it's in a distance. So anything that is in a distance is going to disappear below what is actually the curve. So you interpret the curve as being a flatness with a distortion in the atmosphere. So
correct.
Okay, so any evidence I give you that you're going to try to explain away. So what was the reason that made you think that Earth is flat? I mean, how can that even be flat?
Okay, so it started
There's got to be a way for that to happen. With a spherical Earth, we have gravity that explains it. We can see weightless drops of water where they are suddenly curved. And when they free fall, they become spheres. Same thing's happening with all the planets around us.
Okay, so do these globes of water that you're describing, do they join together and create a larger ball of water, or do they just float freely?
Usually they float freely, but if they collide with each other for whatever reason, if they're somehow crossing paths, then they'll do as planets do and behave as liquids and join together.
But if you were to dump a bunch of Skittles in the ISS, for example, they will just go everywhere. They won't. There's nothing pulling them to any